but not least, Manchester Derby, mate. Manchester United 0, Man City 3. Again, we're talking about games where we didn't learn much. I mean, both we're talking about surprise with
I learned a lot in this one.
We're surprised about the Man United lineup more than anything else. But you know how Man City can beat teams comfortably in second gear sometimes? This is exactly that, right? And you look at it as Haaland scored 2, picked up an assist. There was the one at the start, which was kind of a scramble off the line from Onana's save. He had the back post header before he scored the back post header. He could have put it in for a hat-trick rather than squaring it to Foden. He had another shot that was saved as well. Like this, the XG for Man City was, 4?
It's the second highest of any team in the Premier League game this season.
4?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Brighton against Luton
3.
was the only one bigger.
And the goals they scored probably only make up like 1.5 or 2 out of that XG. I kind of feel like, and that's just Haaland we're talking about here. Like that, he was in beast mode. But if I'd said to you that's the team he's going to come up, that's the defence he's going to come up against, you would have said it.
Do you know what it was? And again, it's not the captain's Arsenal's talisman against Sheffield United. Like I still think the decision's fine, but it's the first week all season, and I don't think there'll be another week all season. I flip flop on the captaincy so much, because even though I didn't have Salah, I had 3 great alternatives to consider. And I promise you, Tuesday night after United played Copenhagen, I left it overnight with Haaland captain. I was like, what is there to fear here with this? If Copenhagen are cutting through them like this and having these sort of chances, and it wasn't like we hadn't seen that before. Wolves opening day, Forest that Awoniyi goal early in the season, right? The shitty goal that they conceded to Brentford. There's other teams that had gone up there and given them real problems. And this arguably, with respect to those teams, was the first really... Galatasaray scored 3 there as well. Was the first really good team that were going to play at Old Trafford. And it did. We spoke about it on Friday. It had all that hallmarks of that Salah hat-trick at Old Trafford. And to be honest, to say the game wasn't dissimilar would be a little bit unfair, because I think United actually started all right in the opening 10 minutes or so. They had a couple of moments where they were quite direct, give City a few moments. McTominay had a good effort just before half-time as well. But ultimately, by the end, it was just as easy. It should be noted on that occasion, Liverpool stopped playing at 5-0 and couldn't be bothered. Otherwise, they'd have got 8 or 9 that day, I think. And it was never quite this case for Manchester City, but they won so easily. The difference in quality between them two teams, monstrous by the end. And I think it's easy just to talk about United, kick a man while he's down and stuff like that. This was City's best performance for a long time as well. Probably since the Real Madrid semi-final, I would have said, in the Champions League.
Rodri's back in the team, and Bernardo's in there giving them control in midfield, and Grealish is back.
I think the other big one is obviously the narrative around Rodri's return and their results in the couple of games without him is obvious. For me, equally as massive. That return of John Stones.
Yeah.
Huge, because no one else in that squad makeup can do quite what John Stones can do. We saw it, the kind of ugliness in like game week 2 when Akanji played from centre back, moved into midfield. John Stones floats around the pitch, and the problem is the rest of that team is so good. I don't think you can just look at, let's man mark John Stones and stop him doing that, because you need to get men behind the ball, right? And as soon as you squeeze and press them and get it wrong, you're dead, as United found out a little bit with a couple of the goals yesterday. I mean, the second goal starts from Ederson playing direct. I know Ederson's pass percentage distance was quite long yesterday, and it's just bypassing when United went into press, just sitting for spare man. And he was really good. He made a couple of really good saves. And I should say Onana made a couple of good saves in the game as well. But yeah, that was City. You'd look at City on that yesterday and you go, yeah, they're still the best team in this league, if anyone was doubting it. And they're all fit, bar Kevin De Bruyne. And I think they'll do really well over this period. There's difficult games to come after Bournemouth. There's Chelsea away. There's Liverpool at home. There's Tottenham at home. Then there's Villa away. That's a really tough run of games. And I think a lot who are still on Haaland, who may have this week been thinking of selling and kept, might be looking at selling again in game week 12. I think probably the lesson I learned from yesterday is, particularly with those 2 home games against Liverpool and Tottenham, definitely don't fear it. As in captain Haaland. Definitely don't fear it. It's perfectly reasonable. I think Liverpool and Tottenham will give space, right?
Yep.
Neither of those two teams are going to go to the Etihad and think, and they're obviously tough games for City, neither of those two teams are going to go there and go, what you got and sit in front of them. Like United tried to do a lot of the game yesterday, and they still created chances. And again, that's because United have got so much poor individually and a poor team at the moment. But Tottenham are going to go to City. You can laugh at me at this. Tottenham are going to go to City and they're going to try and beat them. Mm-hmm. And he'll have space. Now, Tottenham have the recovery pace in the likes of Van der Ven and Romero, but there'll be opportunities. You know, against Liverpool, there'll be opportunities.
There's always opportunities for Haaland.
I mean, look at the goal that Chelsea conceded to Pinnock at the weekend. Imagine if that's Haaland on the back post.
Well, I mean, he had 2 back posts, so he should have scored. He scored 1 out of the 2 yesterday. So, going to ask you.
Go on.
Penalty?
Yeah, for me it is, but it might not be next week. That's the problem, isn't it?
I think we're all in agreement. It's like, okay, you can't argue that he's pulled him back. Sure. What about every other time that it's happened over the weekend? I think everybody, from what I was thinking, was let's hope it happens at the other end because let's see if they're consistent enough to do it. But you don't want consistency in the game. You know what? You want consistency across the league.
The big problem for Haaland in this incident as well is as Rodri's kind of turning to make everybody aware, Haaland's still holding him. If at that moment where Rodri turns, he lets go, he gets away with it. But his arm's still there, and you can tell it's quite like a firm arm is holding. Yeah, that's the problem. You just want to see it given next week and stuff.
It happens all the time. It was a real frustration. But yeah,
I didn't agree. There was part saying as well it was because there's every chance he would have got to the header. I don't think that's been the
irrelevant.
Case because Diogo Dalot's position on that was so disastrously deep that he ended up heading it away, ironically. For United, I keep hearing talk of people wanting to buy back into Manchester United this week. It's Fulham away, then there's Luton at home, and then it's Everton away. It is a good free run of fixtures. Do you think if their mentality's not right that they're getting stuff at Fulham and Everton?
No.
And it's not to say that it won't be right.
No.
But I don't feel any want to have any part of that at all.
We talked about Calvert-Lewin bullying centre-backs. I mean, him against Evans or Maguire or whoever he is up against, maybe Varane gets back into the team. But he'll be looking forward to that, I think, as a game. I
can only assume personally that Varane wasn't fully fit.
Has to be.
I don't understand that. I mean, look back at Johnny Evans on the 3rd goal. What is that? And I wanted to use him as an example rather than just pick on Maguire for bits. But they get pulled all over the place on the 2nd goal. I forget who it was. Someone didn't track, and to be fair, Evans had to come in and track. It might have even been Rodri's run into the box that leaves Haaland free. I mean, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? Haaland free in the box time and time again. So I don't know what the situation is there with Rafael Varane. He obviously perhaps doesn't fancy Reguilon, who is a player I obviously know well, is not great defensively. But you've moved, I think Victor Lindelof, I'm pretty sure most Manchester United fans would agree with this, when he's played centre-back over the last 6, 7, 8 months, has done pretty well. He's not a left-back. So
when Reguilon's on the bench as well, I know Reguilon's just come back from injury, but I think a lot of people were questioning why leave a left-back on the bench and then play a right-footed centre-back at left-back. Well, it doesn't make sense.
Look, Maguire has done all right recently, right? And we always stick up for him when he plays for England and stuff. He's never going to be Manchester United's long-term solution. This is exactly what me and Gary spoke about last week on the Fan View, was like, you're just plugging problems, just making different problems. Stop doing that. Find yourself a vision. And, you know, if the vision is sticking with Erik ten Hag and letting him get more players from the Eredivisie, then good luck to you and all that stuff. I don't think necessarily changing is the right thing to do, by the way, because I think the club's rotten to its core through it. There is, I want to use a stronger word than mentality. There's something wrong with that football club throughout it.
People use the word culture. It's a cultural problem.
Culture is fine, yeah.
Right. We're going to do some questions that we've had in on X, James.
By the way, don't mind Mr. Phil Foden as a 1 week punt.
Any time with him, to be fair. He left my wildcard team just because there was better options available, but you know that he's the type of player anytime that can return. What is he? 7.5, I would say.
Yeah, it's similar price to Bowen. So if you're feeling ugly about it and you got 2 frees, like I don't mind dip that and dip back.
Yeah, so for example, if Luis Diaz is going to be out for a couple of weeks and wasn't going to play, I'd just go sideways straight away. And there's no money involved in that one as well.